Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you watched last week, we were having issues with the driver's side header. It was cracked, it was leaking, and it was no good for spooling up on the turbo. So we've got new headers here today that we're going to replace it with. Before we get into it, let's go over what you'll need. An assortment of ratcheting wrenches, extensions, swivel adapters, 14 and 15 millimeter sockets, and wrenches. Bonus if you have flex head and ratcheting. There's a bunch of different combinations that you can tackle to get at these bolts, but PB Blaster or another rust preventative is going to be your buddy there. And I always keep the DeWalt just so I can power through some of the rust and get these bolts loosened up. With all that said, let's get to it. Two more things before we jump into it. Now, the replacement headers, they're going to use shorter bolts than what your factory ones come with. So when you take off those bolts, you're either gonna have to put washers in between it and the header, or you're gonna have to cut the bolts, or you're going to have to get shorter bolts. The bolts that go across the top, I'd say 4 of them are not going to work, so keep that in mind. And you'll also need a set of 13 millimeter ratcheting wrenches and sockets to get at some of these clamps. The crossover pipe clamps, those are 13 millimeter, and a few nuts that are on the header are also 13. So let's get to it. All right, so bear with me. I'm dealing with some low light conditions, so it didn't make sense to show you guys the process. But this one came out really easily. What I ended up doing was I took the bolt out underneath. I'd say maybe the one closest to the back, since that's the hardest one to get to. So bottom back bolt, that came out from the bottom. The rest of them I was able to get from the top. And on this side, I took out all 3 of the bottom bolts from the bottom. I had to drop the starter a little bit just to give myself a little bit of extra room, but I was able to get everything out, the rest out from the top, and it's not that bad. I ended up breaking one of my spark plug lines, but I'll get that replaced. They're basically new. Probably only got like 50 miles on it, but great part is Rock Auto has them on clearance for like $3. So get a couple sets if you're gonna rock with these for a while. But that's out. And it's really nice how the stock downpipe just comes down and out of the way. It almost seems like a shame to leave that in there and put brand new headers in. You basically got new exhaust coming up to it now and up to the turbo, and now you still got that old stuff going back down. But in any case, here are the old pieces. So old up pipe, right and left header, and this is what I really want to show you all. Take a look right in the center of the screen. You see that crack starting here and going all the way up and behind that shroud? That needed to be replaced. And if you take a look right in the center of the screen here, right where that shield starts, that's a crack too. Here's a little bit more light on the situation. You can see it starts from here and it goes all the way up there. These turbo Buicks are something else, right? Any other vehicle, when they have an exhaust leak, you can hear it plain as day. I couldn't hear that. I always felt like I would be able to hear the exhaust leaking if it was cracked. You really can't hear it with, I don't know, maybe the bunch of noises that are going on underneath the hood regardless, or maybe it was there and just so faint I couldn't tell, but let me know if you all can hear it too. Maybe my ears are going bad. But since we got all this new stuff here, like I said, it seems criminal to keep that downpipe on there. So got another surprise. Thanks to the magic of YouTube TV, we do have a 3-inch GBody Auto Parts downpipe. So we'll get that in there as well. The only thing is, if you have a wideband, this does not come with a wideband thumb. So you need to have that welded in there. And my welds are criminal to this beautiful downpipe. So I'm going to have a shop TIG weld it for me. I just have to figure out where exactly I'm gonna have that happen. They say, what, 12 to 18 inches from the turbo. So we'll measure that out. We'll see what position makes the easiest install and the cleanest fit. I'll mark that, take it out to a shop, have that TIG welded. I'll have to wait for my spark plug wires to come in the mail anyway. So might as well get that ordered and make a plan to get all of this on there, but exciting times. So about an awkward 20 minutes later, I have the downpipe and the catalytic converter out. If you look down inside the cat, you'll see it is cracked. So I do need to find a replacement one for that. But thankfully it's all out and we can turn our attention back to getting the new stuff in there. All right, so I got my two-piece downpipe mocked up. I'm going to mark the place where I want my O2 bung welded in, and should be pretty easy after that. It looks really good. So I'm very close to the frame right here. Should be more than enough room for the crossover pipe to come right next to it and around underneath the trans. I really do like it. So I can't leave well enough alone. You all know that by now. I've gotten the bulk of the exhaust out of the system, but I want to make these valve covers look a little bit better. So take a look at what I got over here. I'm gonna end up going with red centers and then black all the way around, like flat black. So that should give it a really nice look. Pop some color in there. So I'll prep the other one and we'll get it looking like this. All right, so while I'm prepping the valve covers, let me go ahead and start fitting up headers. And start off with the driver's side, since that looks to be the easiest. I need a little bit of easy in my life right about now. Next part up is the crossover pipe. So it fits together right here and it has these V-band clamps to go on each side. I was looking for some better V-band clamps, but I guess I'll try these out and see how they do. If they leak or if they don't fit right, then I'll just get on the hunt and look for something else. But they came with the kit, so we'll give them a fair shot. All right, so crossover pipe is fitted. This was a little bit harder than I expected. I wish these bolts were just a little bit longer. A ½ inch would have done it, but it was very hard to get one on and then get the other one on there. Even if I left this on like 2 threads, it was so hard to get that other one on and screwed in. So that would be one suggestion I would have to the manufacturer or to you if you can't find a third hand, then get some longer bolts or get some better clamps. But besides that, I got everything fitted up and we can move on to the next thing. So it's very important that you do all of this while the exhaust is loose. So nothing is tight from the headers to the block. Nothing is tight from the clamps that I just showed you. All of that is loose. So what I'll do first, now that everything is just snug, I'll make sure that I can get all of the bolts up to the manifold, to the block tightened, and then I'll come over here to the crossover pipe and tighten those up. That way I can make sure that I'm not putting stress on one side of the car or one particular set of bolts that doesn't have to be if we can tighten them all around the same time. So, very important, don't tighten everything at once. Hey, so it's been a few days for me, and I've just been cleaning up the engine as I go, replacing odds and ends. And I want to show you a little bit about these headers because I run into a bit of a snag. So one issue is this O2 sensor. So this is a factory O2 sensor that goes upstream, and it's supposed to screw in here, but the headers are so close to this AC bracket, you can't get it twisted. So I may have to cut this nub off right here, maybe take a little bit of piece of the bracket with it. It's really, really close, so this nub may do it. I'll just cut that off camera, get that done. One other situation that I ran into, it seemed like this up pipe was just a little too short. Reading the Turbo Buick forums, I saw that they had an issue with that early on. And what people did is they added a little bit, like an additional piece right in here to kind of take up some of that gap. I was able to take it up by just loosening up the turbo brackets. Those turbo retention brackets that are down here and on the other side of the turbo right by the neck. So that gave me enough room to lean forward and get it there. It's still hooked up. The seal is still like mated well, but that's just what I use to get it running or to get it hooked up. So as you see right down here, this is where my downpipe will go. It looks like it has great room, but we'll see once we get everything else done. What have I done? The valve covers are in, new spark plug wires are in. Just cleaning up that side. I gotta clean up this side. It's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde over here. So we'll get all that dust off, get it nice and clean. I got this new air cleaner pipe extension, so I gotta get this piece figured out, but this is good. I got my filler neck replaced, new seal is on there, and it's slowly coming together. Almost there. Hopefully we'll be able to start it up in this episode.
All right, so it's been a few days and it's finally looking like something. Take a look with me.
All right, so to summarize, we have up pipe, down pipe, headers, valve covers redone, oil fill tube, air filter, and just a general detail of the entire engine bay. I had a loose battery cable, so I ended up fixing that. I've gotten all the vacuum lines routed, throttle body cleaned up and polished. The wastegate is adjusted, but I feel like it's a little too aggressive, so I'm gonna have to turn that down. I'm thinking it's probably about 20 PSI, so I need to dial that down. Probably gonna go back down to 10, retune everything and make sure it's all good. So I wanna run 10 PSI right now, and then we'll build it up a little bit later. We've gotten the wideband plugged in, and I have a surprise for you all. So let's start it up.
And hopefully it starts on the first try. We will see.
We know our cars generate exhaust gases from the fuel that they burn. And there's two categories of exhaust gases that you really need to be concerned with: pre-turbo exhaust and post-turbo exhaust. Now, pre-turbo can be defined as your headers and your up pipe and a crossover. Anything that leaves the cylinder, the heads of the engine, goes into the crossover and then comes up through the up pipe. Those are pre-turbo exhaust, and any leak that's detected there will rob you of power because you're not spinning the turbo as fast as you can. Now, exhaust gases is what spins the turbo. You lose gases, you lose the pressure that can spin the turbo. Now, post-turbo exhaust leaks are from your downpipe, catalytic converter, muffler, and tailpipe. Those you don't have to be so concerned with. Yes, they'll make noise, but they will not rob you of power. So pre-turbo and post-turbo, two categories that you really need to be concerned with, especially if you're working on these. And just know if you have a turbo with pre-turbo exhaust leaks, you're robbing yourself of power. So let's get to first start.
me show you all what's going on right now. Got an exhaust leak coming from right here. And right here. Now, thankfully for me, I just saw the Amazon guy come, and in that package rests another piece that we need to complete this puzzle. In package one is a lap joint exhaust band, and this is perfect for going right over that downpipe sleeve. There we go. And it's 3 inches, so it should be perfect for what we're trying to do. Only question is, will it fit? Let's do that now. All right, so that is on. Looks great, it's tight. And I've also tightened those a little bit. So let's see what startup number 2 holds. I want to show you all one more thing. I just smoke tested the system again using the fuel pressure regulator port, and look at that, nothing. No smoke coming from anywhere over in the engine. It's just some coming off of the intake, which is expected because it's flowing back down here and out through here. So we are great. No more leaks underneath there. I'm so happy. Short explanation to follow, but I wanted to show you 2 band clamps that I needed to buy to use. One for the downpipe, that's 3 inch, and one for the crossover pipe, that's 2 1/4 inches. All right, so the third charm took me into the next day. I incorrectly assumed that I would not be experiencing back pressure and I wouldn't need a clamp over that cross support, but I actually did. So it's supposed to be 2 1/2, but the 2 1/2, when I put the clamp on there, it was still loose. So I got 2 1/4 instead, and it fit snug and really, really well. So that I'm gonna add to the list of things that you'll need. But for real this time, 3rd time should be the charm. Let's start it up. Still a little too loud. I think the downpipe may have some slack that needs to be taken out. So let's tighten that up. We still have a few leaks that's going on with the Grand National. The exhaust is still making a lot of noise up front, so I know somewhere something's not tight enough or something needs a little bit of, exhaust sealant. So here's what I'm gonna do to find it out. I brought back out my smoke tester, and I'm going to smoke test the exhaust side this time. Since the intake side is free of leaks, I'm going to use this spout, but it's a little bit too small for the upstream O2 sensor hole. So what I did is I have 3/8 fuel line right here, and I've wrapped it in some electrical tape. So it's created this nice little ridge. And what you do is you insert it into the O2 hole, you screw it in, and it creates a smoke leak, a smoke-free seal that'll allow you to put this end over here and test the rest of the system out. So let's do that. I think it's coming from this side header at the back of it, but I won't be able to tell until I get it up in the air. So let's do that. if you look real close, you'll see that it's coming from that exhaust clamp right there. So thankfully it's not the headers. That would be very difficult to try to get at this point. But since I cut this access hole in here for the O2 sensor, I can get at it really easily. So I think it's a 13, maybe 13 or 14. I'll grab 13 through 15 just to make sure. I can come at this side with a socket. I'll have to come at the other side, since there's two of these bolts, with a ratcheting wrench. So since that V-band is still leaking from up there, let's go ahead and remove that. We'll remove this clamp and get this off. Hopefully I don't have to take that one off since it's in there and it's working well. We'll get this off, that off, and get this piece off and come up with a plan B. All right, I got it out. Let's look at the soot to tell the story. So you could take a look at exhaust soot and tell where things are leaking from. And we can see even on the side that we have that little seal, that little sleeve, we're seeing that exhaust is leaking out toward the bottom on this side and pretty much everywhere on this side. We're seeing the same impression from the headers, with the soot escaping. So here's what we're gonna do about it. Here we are. What I'll be using to clear up these leaks is this ultra copper gasket maker. It's Permatex part number 81878. And what I'll be doing is I'll just be cleaning up both of these surfaces. Same thing on the vehicle side at the headers. And I'll be putting a small amount around each seal. Now you can set this for 1 hour and then you can apply heat to it, but I'll be waiting a full 24 hours just to make sure everything is all set. I'll use that time to work on some other things on the car and kind of clean up around here because it's all messy. But yeah, nothing exciting about this. I'll just go ahead and seal this up, get it back on the car, and we'll wait our full 24 hours. So the next day came and went, and it was still not working. It was actually leaking worse than it was before. And I think I figured out what was going on. We expect both of those V-bands are supposed to meet up perfectly, just like this. But what I was seeing was that the driver's side was mating up kind of like that. And it was causing soot to leak around, basically all of it. So as you remember, there was a little bit of a sleeve on the driver's side one, and there's no sleeve on the passenger side, so there's no ridge like what you see here. And that was causing it to leak. So with it like this, anything you can do to get it to align perfectly is shorten the length of the crossover pipe. And in this next clip, you'll see me do that. All right, so let me explain what I found. First off, as you can see right here, this is a V-band that has a male and female connection. So this is male, and you'll see an extra slot for this portion of the pipe where it meets the header on the driver's side of the car. So that inserts, and when I try to get it flush, like sitting totally on that lip, I'm seeing this side just like really cockeyed. It's really going like an inch past the header on the passenger side. So what that tells me is that this pipe needs to be shortened. So I just cut off about 5/8 of an inch out of this,
and everything still fits, and I'll still be able to use this band clamp to seal it up. But now this flange sits flat. It looks like it's going to be a totally great seal. And now this flange lines up perfectly with the header on the passenger side. So I'm going to retry using the Permatex exhaust gasket maker, this stuff right here. And hopefully this will be the ticket now that we have total alignment on both sides of the flanges. If this doesn't work, then I'm either going to weld this V-band to the V-band on the header and just cut down here and use one of these, or cut the V-bands entirely and start off with male-female ends like this on this side so we can get a great seal. But now the flanges line up on both sides. It's looking a lot better. I just couldn't tell. I didn't know what I was looking for before, but now that I took my time, I can see that you got to get these to line up, and you got to take some out of there. And if you're looking for like the indentation marks, this is what's left. There was like this much more pipe before. So let's do that. All right, so the center portion is cut. I've got everything sealed and bolted back in. And to be honest, this is the best it's ever looked. As far as how close the clamps are to the flanges, this, I wish it had a little bit closer on this edge, but honestly, I think it's the best it's ever looked. And I'm seeing sealant pop out at the top, so I'm hoping that's happening all over and we got a really good seal. I'll sleep on this tonight, reassemble everything in the morning, and hopefully we'll be all set. My oxygen sensor did fail. It's reading ambient air, so I think either I've twisted it a little bit too harshly, or maybe there's a pinched wire somewhere. I'll inspect it, but I ordered a new one, so that'll be on its way. All right, so I'm underneath the car. I'm feeling everything, and nothing. There's a little bit right here, so I'm gonna tighten this clamp, but that one no longer leaks. This one feels good, nothing leaking out. This one feels good too. I think we're in good shape. All right, rise and shine. It is 6 a.m. Saturday morning, and I need to get the Grand National ready for the car show. Got to shine it up. Gonna pop into headliner, clean out the inside, and just make sure everything is in tip-top shape. Made progress on the exhaust yesterday, so that's looking great. And I can hear the turbo spool up for the first time, which is really, really exciting. But I'll get it cleaned up. Next shot you'll see is me and wifey on the way to the show. This is the first time I get to drive one car and see the missus drive another. We're heading over to Cars and Coffee. I'll show you guys some neat rides when we get there.
Oh, like a little demonizer? Yeah.
They get more traffic on some of the roads. Back up just for a second.
So that's pretty much it. It runs, it drives. It's a lot quieter than it was before, and I can hear that turbo spool up really, really nicely. So that's all there is to it. It can be done. The DNA headers, they are a good product, especially for the price. Getting $250 headers and crossover pipe, it's a deal. But just know that there's going to be some fabrication in there to get the job done. In the description, I'll list the additional clamps and things that I needed to complete this. Also, you're going to need a cutoff wheel or cutoff tool of some degree, either a bandsaw or an angle grinder with a blade on there to get that cut off. But besides that, thanks for watching. Talk to you next time.